Hello students, today we are going to learn about chemical effects of electric current. So we know that there are some solid substances like iron, aluminium and copper. They conduct electricity. These are called good conductors or the conductors. There are some solid substances like wood or plastic. They do not conduct electricity. So those are called insulators or the bad conductors. So conductors or the insulators. Right? But what about liquid? So liquid conducts or the fluids conduct electricity under certain conditions. Alright. So let's take an example. You have three beakers. Okay. So these are called beaker. A solution, a vessel that contains a solution. So let's say in one of the beaker here you have lemon juice and salt mixed in water. Okay, so all of this contains water, and then you have this one is a tap water, and this one is a distilled water. Right? So what would happen? Liquid that has acid, base, or salt dissolved in it generally conducts electricity. So lemon is an acidic, citric acid, right? A salt. So these are kind of solutions which conduct electricity are called electrolyte, right? So this is the solution, the liquid that conduct electricity are called electrolytes. Those are because of the acid or base or salt that breaks down into ions. You will learn about acid and base in my future lecture. I will explain that and how the breaking down because of the chemical effects happen also in the future lecture. So, but for now you understand that these are all chemical compounds and then they get broken down into ions. And ions are the freely moving particles. So what is it? Ion. So these are all freely moving particles that carry electric current, and that is the reason they complete the circuit and the electricity passes through them. Electric current passes through the liquid. Now what happens in case of tap water? The tap water will conduct electricity not to an extent, it is not a very good conductor, but it will conduct because it contains mineral salts. Salt, again the chemical compound of salt is NaCl. I will explain that in future lecture, and it breaks down, it gets broken down into ions, and then they help carry the electric current and help in conducting the electricity. While in case of distilled water, it is pure. It doesn't contain any kind of mineral salts, acid and base, so they do not conduct electricity. So this is a good conductor of electricity. This is somewhat good conductor of electricity, right? But this is a poor conductor of electricity, right? So now to understand this, what are the chemical effects of electric current, right, in liquids? Let's understand what are the type of chemical effect that can happen. One is the formation of bubbles. Second is deposition of metal. And third is change in color of solution. These are the most common chemical effects of electric current that passes through the liquid. So let's understand formation of bubbles first, right? So let's say you have beaker, right, that has water in it, and then you have two carbon rods. So let's you can take any old pencil cell, and the rod at the center is called the carbon rod, which is called the electrode, right? So the carbon rod inside any pencil cell, let's say you have a pencil cell like this, right, and if you break it, you will find a thin carbon rod at the center. Okay, So you can take two carbon rods, tie a thin copper wire around it, and then connect one end of the carbon rod to the positive terminal of the pencil cell, and other carbon rod to the negative terminal of the pencil cell. So let's say you have a pencil cell, right? And the bulging portion is usually the positive terminal, and this is the negative terminal. And you take a carbon rod, right? And then you tie, and then you connect it, right? Let's say you connect it like this. Now, the carbon rod that is connected to the positive terminal is called anode. Okay, I will explain what anode and cathode is, and the carbon rod that is connected to the negative terminal is called cathode, right? After some time, you will see when the electric current passes through these carbon rod, and do not let this carbon rod touch each other. Okay, keep a minimum distance. Now, after some time, you will see the water. The chemical formula of water is H2O. I will explain this again in future lecture. But this breaks down. This gets broken down into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen are gas, right? So after some time you will see those gas bubbles gets formed and are deposited around the carbon rods. That is the formation of air bubbles. That is because water is broken down into its hydrogen and oxygen atoms, and those are getting deposited on the carbon rods. This complete phenomena of moving in electric current inside within the fluid is called electrolysis. This electrolysis is used in many places, and it has certain usage also, right? So now let's say you want to use the electrolysis for some use, right? So one of the most common use of electrolysis is electroplating. Okay. That brings us to the second point. What is electroplating? So electroplating is a deposition of thin layer of a desired metal onto another substance, right? Another material. So let's take the same example, right? So you have this carbon rod and all. Instead of carbon rod, you have a copper metal. So this carbon rod is a copper metal. Okay, and you have this one is some substance or some metal. Okay, the solution is copper sulfate and sulfuric acid. Okay, you need this. So for now, you just understand that there is a copper sulfate and sulfuric acid that is mixed into the water, and then you have a copper and a substance that you want to deposit on, right? So when you do this process, after some time you will see the copper rod, which is the anode. Okay, it will leave copper, release copper, and then copper gets dissolved in the solution, and then it gets deposited. A thin layer of copper is deposited on the cathode, the negative electrode. So these anode and cathode are also called the electrode. Okay, why it is used? So electroplating is used when you are creating jewelry. So gold and silver is used is deposited using the process of electroplating. So a thin layer of expensive substance is deposited over another substance. This is used in jewelry. Another example is chromium. Chromium is a very strong, scratch resistant or a corrosion resistant material that is used in cars, bathtubs, or such places like bicycle handlebars and all. So what they use is the process of electroplating, which is by deposition of a chromium material on the other material, right? So that's how you use electroplating for some of the daily usages, that you see that okay, you have an expensive substance that is coated, a corrosion free substance that is coated over another substance. Similarly, iron, let's say you have a tin can storage, right? So those tin cans, that you use for storage of food items is not actually a tin. It is iron with a thin plating of tin that stops or avoids the items to get any chemical reaction or avoid any chemical reaction with iron. So those tin substances, tin cans are also deposited using the electroplating. So I will explain you. I will explain and tell about electrode, anode, cathode, ions, right? And all of these things in future lecture. But for now, understand that this is how the chemical effects of electric current and the ions help electricity pass through any liquid. Thank you.